Respected Khenpo Sodargye, distinguished leaders, distinguished guests, and dear colleagues, a good afternoon to you all. Today, we are gathered to hold Qinghai Red Cross Hospital's Humanistic Medicine Education event, as well as the lecture on Buddhism and humanistic care. The medical system upheld by Buddhist philosophy has demonstrated a positive influence human health preservation, wellness, rehabilitation, treatment, and confidence impacting. We aim to research, explore, develop, and promote Buddhist culture and the profound relationship and connotations between it and medical culture, establishing a new era medical model that integrates social, psychological, and biological aspects. Will further promote social harmony and ethnic harmony, as well as religious harmony and harmonious doctor-patient relationships. For this reason, we have specially invited Khenpo Sodargye from Larungar 5 Sciences Buddhist Academy to deliver a special lecture on humanistic medical education. Now, let us invite scholar Sodargye to give us this special lecture. Please give him a warm welcome.
Respected Dean, and to all the distinguished individuals and esteemed guests present here today, it is a true honor and privilege to address you. I am very pleased today to be visiting the esteemed Qinghai Red Cross Hospital, a truly remarkable medical institution, and to have this extremely meaningful and personal exchange with many highly experienced medical doctors and other distinguished guests gathered here today. I had also previously heard long before that our very own local Red Cross hospital is quite remarkably unique and truly very special indeed. Especially from my personal perspective as a devout Buddhist in particular, here you will find not only Buddhist halls but also Christian and Islamic ones, showcasing a diverse range of religious architecture. There are prayer rooms and small chapels exactly like these located within the hospital. Moreover, our patients, those who are experiencing suffering, often according to their deeply held and differing beliefs, can all come here to seek a profound sense of inner peace and effective methods of healing and personal well-being. This particular aspect truly interests me a great deal. The primary topic of our exchange today concerns knowledge related to Buddhist thought and humanistic aspects. Therefore, our theme is the subject matter of Buddhism and humanistic care. I hope we can engage in mutual learning through our discussions together. Personally, I have been deeply and actively engaged in Buddhist work for many, many years. And I am also very genuinely, personally interested in this particular important area myself today. Of course, everyone present here today is also deeply dedicated to saving precious lives and healing the wounded, and are truly the creators of a profoundly sacred medical profession indeed. I have great and sincere respect for each and every single one of you here, and the fundamental reason for this is as follows. Because all the dedicated and compassionate medical staff present here truly embody a profoundly noble profession. Indeed, all of you here are directly and intimately involved with the very essence of life itself, handling it with immense responsibility and care. And this is something everyone knows. What is the most precious thing in this world? The most precious aspect of all is human life. Indeed, life is of the utmost and paramount importance. A profession that intimately interacts with human life should be considered extremely sacred in this world. Extremely valuable, meaningful, and truly honorable work indeed. So I strongly believe that all the wonderful people I am actively communicating with right here today are truly great. And I feel honored to have this opportunity. Next, let's carefully consider what exactly is Buddhist thought, or what is truly meant by humanistic care. Perhaps you all widely know that just last year, Mo Yan, the esteemed and only Chinese recipient of the prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature, was recognized. In his acceptance speech in Sweden, when he received the prestigious Nobel Prize for the very first time, I distinctly remember there was a particular, quite memorable line he uttered. He humbly stated, "I am not very well versed in Buddhist theory." However, in actual fact, when he subsequently introduced his profound and impactful book, Life and Death Are Wearing Me Out, he presented a different perspective. The book for which he won the prize is called Life and Death Are Wearing Me Out. When he talked about this insightful book, He specifically mentioned that many of the fundamental and core ideas of Buddhism should be thoughtfully considered and recognized as embodying a true, expansive, cosmic consciousness. Many of the disputes among us ordinary people are, in the eyes of Buddhism, completely meaningless and utterly devoid of any lasting significance. That's precisely what he said. From such an elevated and profound perspective, ordinary people seem truly pitiable and rather insignificant. This profound observation was something he said during his very first Nobel Prize acceptance speech. It was an integral part of his comprehensive remarks at the prestigious award ceremony. One of the lines was, "What is the nature of Buddhist thought?" Buddhist thought, in fact, is the truth of the universe and of human life. In this regard, as a significant literary figure, the only person in all of Chinese history to have ever won the prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature, when he analyzes and observes with his insight and wisdom, if this is what he believes, all of us intellectuals present here today cannot help but be concerned about this matter as well. So, what exactly are we discussing now? It is a kind of Buddhist thought. But Buddhist thought, what kind of care and compassion does it offer to contemporary society? Or in other words, what role does it truly play in fostering a deeper sense of compassion and understanding? Those of you present should be able to reflect on this. Among us here, some may be followers of Buddhism, while others may not necessarily believe in Buddhism at all, but each and every one of us truly needs a kind of love. This particular kind of love in Buddhism, to be completely honest, is described in great detail and with remarkable thoroughness. As for myself, over nearly 30 years, I can genuinely say that I have devoted all of my time and energy to this endeavor. Though I wouldn't precisely call it formal research, I am still continuously learning and growing. During this continuous process of learning and self-discovery, I often deeply think, no matter what kind of individual one is in this vast world, if one has some profound understanding or insightful grasp into Buddhist studies, then all kinds of complex matters in life will become clearer and more manageable and will be easily and readily resolved for you. So whenever we mention religion, we must never sneer at it, nor should we dismiss it with contempt or disdain. That is truly a profound sign of ignorance. Therefore, what we are indeed talking about here and now is that our entire world genuinely needs care and compassion and understanding. We as humans truly need care and compassion. And even the tiniest, most insignificant animal or any other life form also deserves it. Its precious life also needs everyone's genuine care and loving protection, always. I strongly believe that this is a sacred responsibility for each and every single one of us. Of course, everyone here cares very deeply about our patients and the sick, and I am very well aware of that fact. But even more importantly, for those specific things that our current knowledge has not yet fully covered, even the very tiniest forms of life, we also need to diligently care for them. The fundamental reason for this is that, as everyone here knows very well, is that there is a very famous ancient term in Buddhism today: we should always relieve others' deep suffering completely, treating their pain as our very own. There is such a saying. This is a very famous phrase in Buddhism. What exactly does this mean? It means that we have a significant responsibility to completely eliminate, for any sentient being that experiences pleasure or pain, both their physical and mental suffering. This is our shared responsibility. Why do I say this? Because no matter who it is, their suffering is precisely the same as mine. When you first hear this particular phrase, perhaps you may not immediately feel it deeply in your heart. Why, you might ask, should I relieve his suffering? His suffering is his own. Why should I help him? But if we truly search within our hearts, or when we quiet our minds and reflect, we come to understand that in fact any kind of suffering is truly worth our collective effort to completely eliminate. All the more, we should absolutely never trample on another's precious life, or, for that matter, completely and utterly destroy someone else's profound and lasting happiness, causing immense and irreparable harm. In the distant past, there once lived a truly very famous and highly esteemed Chinese writer known by the name of Su Dongpo. The esteemed scholar Su Dongpo and his close friend Xie Jingwen were leisurely traveling together, embarking on a pleasant journey. As they walked along the scenic path, they engaged in lively conversation, sharing stories and observations, and their hearty laughter echoed softly, filling the air with their joyful companionship. When suddenly a dark shadow fell from a tree onto the road ahead. At that very moment, they suddenly saw a small black lark lying directly in front of them, which had sadly fallen onto their walking path because it was quite badly injured. Sudongpo was about to carefully pick it up from the ground with his hands. But Xi Jingwen immediately dismissed it with complete disdain and utter contempt, and then said quite coldly and harshly, "Do not waste our valuable time on the long road." As he uttered these words, he deliberately stepped on the small bird with his foot. At that moment, Sudongpo felt deeply puzzled and conflicted inside. He didn't utter a single word and just kept walking steadily. Meanwhile, Xie Jingwen continued to talk grandly along the way, constantly commenting on the world around them, chatting and laughing heartily. But his underlying attitude remained steadfastly the same in his heart. After they eventually returned, Sudongpo decisively broke off his relationship with Xi. Then another friend, curious about the sudden change, asked why. He explained, saying, "He callously tramples on the lives of others. Such a person is simply not fit to be considered my friend. Someone who deliberately harms other innocent living beings shouldn't be my close friend." He found it quite a bit hard to believe and asked why exactly. Why can't you be friends with someone just because he stepped on a bird? Sudongpo thoughtfully replied, "Because from his actions you can clearly tell in the future if this person truly gains power or ability or influence, he wouldn't value human life either, showing a profound disregard for its sanctity. He would very likely harm others and himself, or even do things that bring widespread disaster to the country and its people." Later, this person, despite his troubling nature, astonishingly became a high-ranking official. In this powerful position, he ruthlessly killed countless innocent people. Sudongpo himself was almost killed by this man's subordinates. At that particular point in time, another person suddenly realized that Sudongpo was indeed very far-sighted. So from this small but very meaningful example, we can clearly see that whether you are a dedicated doctor or a caring nurse, or any single one of us here today, if we don't have a true sense of compassion in our hearts, if we lack a caring heart, then even if, on the surface, this person seems very successful, or he is truly knowledgeable, highly educated, and exceptionally capable, in reality, I genuinely think that living within human society, such a person is not truly remarkable. In other words, in all aspects of our lives today, we should consider all kinds of social problems keep emerging one after another. Everyone knows that potentially toxic foods are constantly appearing in what we consume. Among university teachers, there are many distinguished professors at various universities who mainly focus on conducting their business affairs and basically don't teach their students at all. Just yesterday, I personally heard some university teachers engaging in a conversation and talking about this very issue. In some hospitals nowadays, all kinds of truly unpleasant things also frequently happen. Some medical doctors are irresponsible toward their patients, and some nurses too, when it comes to caring for their patients, fall short of the ideal in terms of medical ethics. In fact, this situation is a reflection of our entire education system and the overall serious decline in our collective morality, which really needs to be significantly improved. If this doesn't happen soon, then whether our modern society is truly progressing or actually regressing is quite hard to say. On the surface, it certainly seems that our material conditions have greatly developed. We didn't have cars before, now we have cars. We didn't used to live in high-rise buildings, now we do. This is just a kind of superficial development of material wealth. But in reality, if there is no inner development, no improvement within, then such external development may not actually be truly beneficial or genuinely helpful to people. In particular, I want to strongly emphasize here today, with great importance, that in the crucial process of interacting with patients, our dedicated doctors and compassionate nurses must always possess a deeply caring and empathetic heart. This includes your attitude and your actions. Every single word and deed of yours is extremely important and profoundly significant to the patient. Because for patients, everything they have, everything they possess, everything they experience, even their most precious life, is entrusted to your hands. Now, under the significant influence of this powerful economic wave, all sorts of diverse situations have indeed arisen in many different places. Some of these situations are indeed man-made, while others may be due to various circumstances and prevailing conditions. But for some of these instances, we really need to deeply reflect on ourselves. As for myself, things have gotten a bit better in recent years. In the past, I was often in poor health, and when I was unwell, I visited both good and not so good hospitals in various places. Every single time I went for a medical checkup or treatment, I observed their practices. During this entire emotional process, my deep feelings toward the dedicated nurses wearing those pristine white uniforms, the so-called angels in white, were filled with great respect, or you could say a truly profound sense of reverence. Why is that exactly? It's because I had a very strong sense of seeking help. My illness, in large part, depended on their specific actions and on their truly special skills, which, in fact, truly could bring about improvement. Everyone will have this kind of feeling. But if you are left with a less than good impression, I'm afraid that as a patient, it's also very hard to truly forget. More than 10 years ago, I remember this happened. At that time, I was translating while my health was very poor. I was in Xiamen in the south, and I was hospitalized there for about 2 months, approximately. During those 2 months in the hospital, I personally felt that there was one doctor who treated me especially well. At that time, I brought another young Lama with me, and we were there together sharing this experience. The hospital conditions weren't very good either. In fact, they were quite basic. There was a nurse who had a very bad and consistently unpleasant attitude toward me. I truly didn't know the specific reason why. Every time she gave me an IV or an injection, I once mentioned this in a book called Footprints on the Journey, where I briefly talked about it. Every single time she gave me an injection, she was very aggressive and quite forceful. Whenever I heard her approaching footsteps, I would feel a sense of dread. I would immediately feel a profound sense of panic and an intense fear deep inside. When she eventually arrived, she would abruptly snap the needle, and I would become very nervous and apprehensive. It wasn't just me. At that time, there were about 5 or 6 people in the ward. And everyone in the ward felt the same way. Whenever we heard her footsteps, everyone would get nervous. When she came in, none of us dared to say anything bad about her. We all just sat there, acting very serious and solemn. But as soon as she left, everyone would start whispering and talking about her. Another doctor said because she was having some significant problems with her friends recently, and this was causing her distress. So she was very angry, and she took it all out on us. But at the time, I thought that couldn't be the only reason. We stayed there for almost 60 days. And during those entire 60 days, her attitude was consistently like that every single day. It truly seemed like she hardly ever got off work. She was always the dedicated one who came in. We certainly had a good doctor, but he was only present for a very short period of time, each and every day. But for me, this whole significant thing happened, I think, just last year. It was probably last year when I went to Xiamen University to give a lecture. I passed by the entrance of that hospital, and suddenly it all came back to me. It had already been 10 long years. It was actually way back in early 2002, but all of her kind actions just naturally resurfaced quite vividly in my grateful mind. Everything she did at the time, even her tone of voice. So thinking about it from the perspective of a patient myself, I truly believe that it is important to consider this. I truly believe that we need what's called medical ethics. Of course, everyone loses their temper sometimes, and we all have moments of anger. We're not saints. It's truly impossible for all of our daily actions to be completely calm, peaceful, and serene. But we also shouldn't direct too much of our resentment, or indeed any significant animosity, or far too many instances of negative and unhelpful behaviors exhibited toward patients. So, speaking from my own personal and extensive experience as a patient, having encountered various aspects of the healthcare system, I can confidently say that what we truly need right now is at this moment a profound sense of medical ethics. Of course, if medical ethics are simply treated as just a set of rules and regulations, or just as a principle to restrain behavior, it can be quite difficult. It's best if we have something Buddhism talks about. Good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished. the belief in past and present lives, karma and cause and effect, having this kind of profound faith and unwavering trust, the inherent power of its restraint is indeed much stronger and more effective. If we can consistently act in this thoughtful and principled way, our personal morality and collective ethics will definitely and significantly improve. In fact, in a certain sense, actually, I think that as science becomes more and more advanced nowadays, our humanistic values and especially our deeply caring hearts are truly indispensable. In a certain profound sense, they have already surpassed our collective creativity and all of our significant discoveries. I don't know if you've seen it. I was reading Einstein's profound work, Einstein on Life, which I truly believe was skillfully translated by the esteemed Gao Jikai. I had the opportunity to read it a considerable time ago, and there was a particularly significant passage within its pages. In that passage, he clearly stated that we must absolutely never forget that among human beings, the so-called knowledge, practical skills, and advanced techniques actually cannot truly bring profound happiness and genuine dignity to all of humanity. He profoundly stated that as human beings, we have every single good reason to actively uphold today's important morality, truly noble moral standards and core values. And these very dedicated preachers of essential values can actually be placed on the very same level as the discoverers of objective truth. That's what he truly meant. Einstein himself put it this way. As for me, I consider figures like Shakyamuni Buddha in Buddhism, Moses in Judaism, and Jesus in Christianity. The profound and lasting contributions they have made to humanity far surpass all the remarkable achievements and significant accomplishments they have attained. I have personally felt deeply and profoundly about this particular passage for a considerably long period of time, reflecting on its immense significance and timeless wisdom. What it truly means is that these profound discoverers of objective truth, like the renowned Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, and so on, the so-called influential figures like Copernicus or Aristotle, did they truly make significant and lasting contributions to the advancement of humanity? They made tremendous contributions. Our lights, our airplanes, all these inventions and creations are all thanks to their abilities and contributions. But in a certain and very real sense, if we truly do not have moral standards at all, if we don't have a set of human values, in other words, an education in love, if we don't have an education in love that truly comes from within, then what would our entire society actually become? I think everyone here today is very clear about this serious issue. Just as I mentioned earlier today, it's very important for all of us to genuinely want to relieve others' deep suffering. Especially as doctors, I have indeed met some doctors before, and I specifically asked them, how do you truly feel when you perform a surgical procedure? That particular doctor told me, at first I genuinely felt really sorry for the patient. But as the operation went on, after a while, it felt like there was very little difference from cutting fabric. There was no feeling at all, indeed. There was just no feeling anymore. That's what he called an occupational hazard. Sometimes, if we do not possess compassion within our hearts and souls, we might, in what we do, we may easily end up doing many harmful things that go directly against our moral conscience. No matter who you are exactly, if you do such terrible things, it's completely unreasonable. This kind of behavior is totally unreasonable. Therefore, in the process of treating and saving people in the near future, I think the very first thing that we absolutely need is moral education. This particular kind of moral education should definitely come from two distinct aspects. First, it always starts with ourselves personally. At the very least, we should all be genuinely good people. Of course, there are many different standards and specific criteria for being a truly good person. But among them, in Buddhism, for example, the basic precepts, no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, or lying. This is a fundamental principle of Buddhism. Some people say that Buddhism has all kinds of restrictions. But actually, it's not about restrictions. It's a standard for human character. Many people nowadays don't really understand Buddhism. They often think Buddhism has a lot of strict constraints, rigid controls, and numerous dogmas. But if you truly look deeply into it quite carefully, I personally don't see it that way at all. What Buddhism actually teaches, especially regarding our daily mental adjustment should definitely rely on Buddhism's ancient wisdom. When we encounter the greatest emotional pain and the biggest life difficulties, we naturally turn to strong faith and use psychological comfort to soothe ourselves. This is truly the only effective way forward. So I especially urge everyone here today, the patients you come into direct contact with are a very special and extremely vulnerable group. No matter if they were leaders or wealthy people before, no matter what kind of person they used to be, it's just like when someone is locked up in a prison, this person has no rights at all. In the very same way, when he unfortunately falls ill, he completely loses all strength in both his physical body and his mental mind. So now, as dedicated doctors, is it truly enough for us to only treat his physical body? I don't think it's quite enough. We should not only meticulously care for his physical body and diligently treat his specific illness, but also proactively help him adjust his overall mental and emotional state. In the distant past, the renowned ancient Roman philosopher Plato, a profound thinker, he said, "The greatest mistake any good doctor can make is to treat only the physical body and not the human mind." That is truly the biggest mistake possible, because the body and the mind simply cannot be treated separately at all. Personally, I genuinely believe this is incredibly crucial. As any dedicated medical professional, we are constantly surrounded by so many truly unfortunate individuals. When they come to us, we should be fully responsible for their physical bodies as well. We need to be patient and humane in our approach. We need to have a sense of responsibility and also a sense of compassion. If we possess these essential qualities, we will certainly take on a great responsibility in curing their various illnesses. This profound sense of responsibility is also being truly responsible to ourselves. If I work with this kind of dedicated attitude, that is also very important. On one hand, we are being responsible to the patient. Nowadays, there are many who are not responsible to their patients. Whether it's hospitals or doctors, there are a significant number of them readily available. We've been to many different places, exploring various locations, and in some of these specific places, there wasn't a serious illness to begin with, meaning the initial health conditions were not severe. But through various means, the illness is made worse. Instead of reducing what should be reduced, they increase it. This problem doesn't just exist in our hospital, but in all aspects of our society today, such issues are appearing. This even includes those we now call monastics. According to the Buddha's principles and intentions, wearing monastic robes should be something sacred, a truly noble and very wise medical profession. But nowadays, unfortunately, whether it's through traditional Buddhist practices or just mere outward physical appearance alone, or by simply using the good reputation of the Dharma in Han regions and in various places, there are also cases of deceiving many followers out of their money and so on. Such discouraging phenomena also exist. So whether you choose to wear white clothes or I choose to wear red clothes, in all walks of life among us, it is important to recognize that are there truly outstanding and remarkable people who have contributed to human society? There are indeed quite a lot. They are everywhere. But are there also people who, relying on such professions, not only commit offenses themselves, but also bring harm to all of humanity? Especially, I think, as a monastic, if he uses a truly deviant path to deliberately mislead and corrupt others, then that is a very serious matter indeed, and utterly destroys their spiritual wisdom and their very life itself. Then you, as dedicated angels in white, if your significant lack of medical ethics causes profound harm to others, it can truly be said that you have completely destroyed the most precious thing of all, someone's invaluable life. So what we deal with, one is life, the other is spiritual wisdom and life. Both life and spiritual wisdom are, throughout all our lifetimes, extremely important to us. Therefore, on this issue, it is worth deep reflection for everyone. And the main source of this reflection is that nowadays, in many industries, people no longer truly value virtue or what is considered to be virtuous. But instead, they tend to focus solely on money, always constantly talking about money. Many people mistakenly regard money as the ultimate source of all happiness and contentment. If we cannot see through the illusion of wealth, if we do not have a truly fair and just attitude toward money, then indeed and so, then it is very likely that all our ethics and morals will be completely and utterly destroyed in this great, vast, and intricate dye vat of society. Basically, many truly kind-hearted people, individuals who are genuinely good and inherently beautiful, are becoming fewer and fewer. Back in 1938, Albert Einstein left a detailed letter for all of humanity to be read 5,000 years later. The letter itself is not very long, but in it, he explicitly stated that in the foreseeable future, among all humans, he believed that there will be very few people who are truly intelligent, capable, and compassionate. Those with very low intelligence and extremely degraded morals, such people will become more and more common. Although not even 2,000 years have passed yet, in our current era, we can also see that it's not just Einstein, but also Padmasambhava and many great lamas and masters from Tibet who have made similar predictions and insightful comments about the future. So, the fundamental root of all our current troubles today is that nearly everyone places all their intrinsic values and ultimate aspirations solely on money. But in reality, the mere possession of money doesn't necessarily bring us true, lasting happiness and genuine joy. It was around April of 1988 when a philosophy PhD student at Columbia University wrote his doctoral dissertation on the profound and intriguing topic specifically titled, "What Determines Human Happiness?" He meticulously conducted extensive research on this complex and multifaceted subject, and throughout the entire research process, a notable distinction from many other countries, the United States in particular, has extremely strict requirements for doctoral dissertations. So, during his research, he used 10,000 questionnaires, carefully distributing them to people from all walks of life. He asked them to rate their feelings: happiest, happy, most miserable, miserable, and average. There were about 5 questions, clearly labeled A, B, C, D, and E. He sent out a total of 10,000 questionnaires to everyone. In the end, he received 5,200 valid responses. Among these 5,200 responses, there were many people who genuinely considered themselves to be the happiest. There were precisely 121 individuals who truly believed they were the happiest. He then carefully analyzed these 121 people to discover exactly why they were so happy. Among them, a notable 50 individuals were highly successful in their careers. They were well off and influential in various aspects of their lives. The remaining 71 people came from all sorts of backgrounds. Some were farmers, some were even beggars, and some were just ordinary people. But all these people shared one common trait. They felt a sense of contentment and inner peace. It wasn't that they had abundant material possessions. Rather, they had a sense of satisfaction within themselves. Later, this PhD came to a conclusion. He said that so-called human happiness actually is, first, requires career success, which is related to money. Second is inner peace. One must have few desires and be content. Having fewer desires is related to one's mindset. At that specific moment in time, he genuinely believed that these 2 particular conclusions he had reached were entirely correct. From a substantial collection of 10,000 questionnaires, he carefully chose the responses of 121 individuals. Another 2 decades, a full 20 years, then passed, bringing us to approximately 2009. And at that time, he thought back, 20 years had gone by. He often wondered how those very same people were truly doing at that particular moment. Subsequently, he got back in touch with each and every one of those 121 individuals. After quite a long period of time, only 2 of them had actually passed away. The rest was still very much alive. At this crucial point, he carefully analyzed all the data again. Originally, there were 50 people who had achieved career success. These people were no longer happy. Some, although wealthier, were suffering inside. For some, because everything is impermanent, their professional careers had significantly changed. So, for the vast majority, only 9 individuals still truly considered themselves genuinely happy. As for all the other individuals, earlier out of the total 71 people, 2 had unfortunately died. And when he continued to observe the remaining 71, according to his comments, these people, except for 1 or 2, their mood remained very calm. Although some had become wealthy, their overall mindset was one of deep contentment and very few material desires. Their general attitude was remarkably peaceful and calm. So what final conclusion did he ultimately reach exactly? It is not material things that bring lasting happiness. The happiness brought by material things does not last long. True, genuine, lasting happiness in the human heart depends entirely on our inner mind state. This is exactly what is fundamentally taught in traditional Buddhism today. A contented person, even lying on the ground, is still at ease. There is a specific saying in Buddhism about this. A person who is content and always happy, even if they lack material conditions, even if they sleep on the ground, they are still very happy. I often see that the people who are truly happy nowadays are among the herders who are truly with faith, and also among the farmers. They feel very free and at ease, very happy. But in the cities, on the surface, it seems like people have nice cars, good housing, and everything should be great. But the pressure of life is immense, and people feel a lot of pain and inner conflict. All kinds of issues and pressures truly torment them every single day. So, for us humans today, there is indeed a challenging situation that everyone absolutely has to admit. What is it that we truly have to admit? The wealth we are currently pursuing now is actually not the true source of genuine happiness. This is something everyone might deeply need to reconsider. Otherwise, people of the 21st century who think they are very smart, who truly believe they are very wise, but what we diligently pursue every single day is money. Now we realize that the topics discussed by people from all walks of life are all about having money or not, having status or not. Apart from this, the things that the ancients truly valued, like a profound sense of conscience, a deep feeling of compassion, and a genuine act of caring within our hearts, have unfortunately not yet become the truly supreme and guiding values in our modern society. If we continue like this on the surface, humanity may, in the future, witness taller and taller skyscrapers. But if our hearts and minds do not rise as well, and we only have material skyscrapers, I'm afraid that may not truly bring happiness to others. The real happiness that resides within our hearts actually comes from a sense of deep contentment at a certain point. If we truly have this sense of contentment, we can approach everything we do calmly and peacefully. At that time, what you do will also contribute to humanity and bring yourself a great deal of true, personal, and lasting joy as well. So in these aspects, today I don't need to promote Buddhism as an advertisement, but in fact, I personally believe that the Buddhist concept of compassion and the altruistic mind, to be honest, the Mahayana mindset, is extremely important for us. We do not set any conditions, and we should truly help all living beings. If we do this, then indeed, as being a doctor is a profoundly great and noble profession. From the Buddhist perspective, the most commendable and indeed the best choice among all possible vocations is to be a doctor. I once had translating a comprehensive and insightful book, which was titled An Extensive Biography of the Lives of Buddha Shakyamuni, a truly enlightening and detailed account of his life and teachings. It was approximately 300,000 characters long. There was one particular story within it that truly left a very deep and lasting impression on me. In a previous life, when Shakyamuni Buddha was still diligently on the path of causal ground, he once became a powerful and benevolent king named King Keshapa. At one particular point, he thoughtfully considered that as a reigning king, he might inevitably have to go to war to protect his beloved country and its loyal subjects. And all sorts of arrogance could arise in his own mind stream. He would also create a lot of karma. If he became a merchant, he might end up deceiving many people. If he were to become a farmer, his life would also be quite hard and challenging. So, among all the numerous professions in the entire world, which one is truly the very best? He firmly believed that being a dedicated doctor was indeed the absolute best profession. So he made a solemn vow to become a doctor. To be completely honest, when I was much younger, back when we had just graduated from middle school, after graduating from middle school, I had a relative who said, at that time, we didn't have the concept of taking medical entrance exams like we do now. We had a relative who was a very famous Tibetan doctor. He said, if you don't get accepted, it would be best if I taught you Tibetan medicine properly. There is a lot of knowledge in Tibetan medicine. Later, I thought to myself, I really don't want to take this particular exam. When it came time for the vocational school entrance examination, I deliberately wrote complete nonsense in my essays. I thought it would actually be much better for me to become a doctor instead. I didn't want to take the exam. I wanted to be a folk doctor. I thought to myself that not doing well on the exam was actually a good thing. I was happy about it. I believed I could become a doctor. But later, after I got back, the admission notice arrived. So I had no choice but to go after all. So in my fate, even though in this present life I didn't have the merit to be a doctor, but being a doctor, as we truly say in Mahayana Buddhism, is indeed something profoundly worth aspiring to for everyone. I don't know if you all have seen this or not. In Buddhism, we have a text called The Way of the Bodhisattva. The Way of the Bodhisattva was written by the Indian Bodhisattva Shantideva. In our Tibetan region, you could truly say it's a widely known household name. Basically, all Mahayana Buddhists are familiar with it. There isn't a single monastery that doesn't study this treatise. Now, in Chinese Buddhism, specifically within the Han region, this particular treatise is also very famous. In it, it clearly states, as long as sentient beings are still sick and have not yet fully recovered, may I become a dedicated doctor and proficient in medicine, and also diligently act as a caring nurse. What does this truly mean? It profoundly means that before all sentient beings' illnesses are completely cured, I deeply aspire to become a compassionate doctor myself, to become a devoted nurse myself, and even to become the medicine to benefit sentient beings. As for this aspiration prayer, although in this very life I do not currently possess such good fortune, in the future I genuinely hope to become an ordinary, everyday doctor, not a particularly famous one. Being excessively famous can actually prove to be quite troublesome. Just an ordinary doctor, even if I can save just one patient a day, if I can help to relieve even a little of a patient's physical and mental suffering in a single day, even just a small bit, I truly think that is the most valuable and precious thing in this entire world. Because, as I just mentioned, if I could exchange the suffering of sentient beings with my own suffering, this is what is called putting oneself in another's shoes in today's society. This kind of perspective is actually the mindset of a noble person. It's something that ordinary people find very difficult to achieve. As I mentioned earlier, Master Shantideva also said, first, carefully and diligently contemplate and train in the practice of the equality of self and others as well. We ourselves and others are inherently equal. In what way are we equal? In our wish to seek happiness and avoid suffering, we are equal. That is to say, in avoiding all suffering and seeking happiness, all sentient beings are completely equal in this regard. This particular idea might be a completely new concept for you to consider. We have never really thought about wanting to bring happiness to all beings. So what are our values actually? Our values are simply about our own happiness. To protect ourselves, we often feel that anything is indeed permissible. But we rarely think about protecting or helping others to the point of being willing to give up everything we have. We simply don't have this kind of mindset right now. That's why when we talk about Mahayana Buddhism, its spirit is considered so noble in today's society. Even truly before the very existence of humanity, this altruistic ideal of Mahayana Buddhism its true value would never simply disappear completely. Why do I say this exactly? The real value of genuine altruism, in fact, is not clearly reflected in many social groups today. Our current values place great emphasis on self-interest. I help my family, I also help people I know very well, and I assist those I do business with or people I know. I feel that helping them is only natural. But when it comes to people with whom I have no familial or other relationship, if I help such people unconditionally, does that mean there's something wrong with me mentally? There are so many people in the world, how could I possibly help them all? Many of us hold this kind of belief nowadays. But when this belief is analyzed from a higher level of humanity, it is actually an inverted value system. Buddhism does not see it that way at all. Throughout the more than 2,500 years of recorded human history, it has always existed completely intact and unchanged, and its universal appeal, its spiritual power, has become increasingly meaningful and relevant. What is the primary reason for this? It is simply because we understand the true value of altruism. Altruism is extremely important in this world. So for each and every one of us, the less we intensely crave material wealth, the better our lives will truly be. And the more genuinely altruistic our hearts are, the significantly better our existence becomes. If our personal desire for material wealth keeps constantly increasing over time, our minds will become very scattered and extremely restless indeed. There was once such a truly inspiring story. A person bravely saved another person's precious life completely. This grateful, wealthy man was prepared to give him exactly 1/5 of his entire estate, $2 million total. Or he told him after another 10 years, he would give him 1/20 of it. This person was originally just an ordinary fisherman. Later, he kept thinking to himself, if I don't take it now, it would be such a pity. But if I take it now, it also feels like a pity. So these two intense feelings kept him in a constant state of anxiety. In the end, he tragically died at sea himself. So nowadays, many of us are often consumed by money and fame. We are already easily tempted and swayed by all kinds of worldly affairs. At times like this, we truly need to remain calm. So how exactly can we stay calm or composed? We need to understand human values. What kind of existence do we truly need in our lives? To survive, we should simply have enough to eat and wear. A basic standard of living is enough. In fact, we don't need a lot of competition. Just because others have cars doesn't mean I must have one. If others live in villas, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to as well. That day, we went to Germany. In fact, Germans have a very good outlook on life. They never talk about money in their daily lives. If someone brings up money, they consider that person to be lacking in class. If we talk about work or issues of genuine care, they are very interested. They find those topics engaging. But if you ask whether someone has a car or a house at home, when these topics come up, they think there is something wrong with that person. These are personal matters. What does someone else's family property have to do with you? Moreover, they never compete with each other either. Some people have cars, some don't. No one really knows who actually has a car or not. But for many of us now, our environment isn't like that. When we get together, it seems like we feel sometimes it's not even something we really need. It's just that we can't let go of our pride. I've already become like this. So why is it that even though we work very closely together daily, others seem to possess this quality and I, unfortunately, do not? There are many profound thoughts like this that often arise naturally. So I think if we truly want to cultivate a shared mindset properly, there was once a renowned English writer named Dickens who famously said, "A truly healthy, positive mindset is actually much more powerful than 100 different kinds of worldly wisdom indeed." I completely and wholeheartedly agree with what he so wisely said before. Everyone here today really needs to have a genuinely healthy, balanced mindset always. With a healthy mindset, the world outside is beautiful. And if each person truly shines with the light of their own strength, it is truly deeply meaningful indeed. So I sincerely hope we can all use our collective wisdom to care for all humanity and use our genuine compassion to help everyone around us daily. All right, that's all for my talk today here. Thank you.